Who are the top 10 right fielders in the game right now? I have my picks. Let's get into it. What's going on, baseball fans? Jeremy Laracuente here for the Baseball Banter Broadcast. And as I said in the open, today we will be discussing the top 10 right fielders right now in the game. But before we get into it, make sure if you haven't already done so, leave your top 10 right fielders right now in the game down in the comment section below so we can discuss it further. But let's begin with my number 10. And at number 10, I have Teoscar Hernandez of the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, this player may be underrated and to some may not be well known, but I think going into the baseball circles, people know just how good this player is. When you look at what Teoscar can provide the Blue Jays, this is a constant, reliable source of power and production from the middle of that Blue Jays lineup. I think when you look at the 2022 season for the Toronto Blue Jays, there's going to be a lot of high expectations, and with those high expectations, I expect actual genuine production to follow suit. I think Teoscar Hernandez, along with several of the other players that we've mentioned from this team before, Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Kevin Biggio, are all going to be able to provide the Blue Jays with a serious level of high run value and high production value. And I think that Teoscar Hernandez is going to be right in the middle of it. As we look at number 9 on my list, it is the Atlanta Braves' Adam Duvall. I think that Duvall is another underrated talent when it comes to the outfield market. I think that he is an above-average defender that does not get the credit for the defense that he plays, as well as being a very good offensive player that sometimes gets overlooked on some of these lists. But to me, there's no doubt about it, Adam Duvall is going to be one of the best right fielders in all of Major League Baseball going into the 2022 campaign. I think that for the Atlanta Braves, they're going to rely on Duvall in the middle of that lineup to help ease some of the production that gets lost from the departure of Freddie Freeman. And I think that Adam Duvall is going to help the Braves try to get back to being the top of the National League East Division, as well as the top of the National League altogether. As we look at number 8 on my list, it is that of Austin Meadows. I think that this, just like Adam Duvall, is another player that gets constantly overlooked on both the offensive and defensive side of the game. I think that he has an ability on both sides of the ball to be able to contribute and help his team win games. That being said, I think that when you look at what this player is capable of doing on an offensive end, that's where his real money is going to shine from. That's where his talent really exceeds those expectations. Going into the 2022 campaign, I fully expect this player to have a very good season, a very strong season, possibly even 30-plus home runs going into a very strong season for the Tampa Bay Rays. I think there's an opportunity here for this player to really cement himself and put his legacy on the map going into this new campaign. As we look at number 7 on my list, it is that of Michael Conforto, now a free agent. I think that going into this new campaign in 2022, Conforto is going to sign on to a team that is really going to allow him to just develop and take his time. I think that this player absolutely came in with a lot of hype and a lot of praise coming from the New York Mets organization. I also think that this player has an opportunity to really come into his own as a potential superstar outfielder in 2022. I think getting away from kind of the pressure point that is the New York market can absolutely help Michael Conforto get back to an all-star level. To me, there's a lot to like about this player's game, and while he may not be the greatest defender, if you try to put him in center field as a corner outfielder, this is definitely a very underrated defender. So I think the all-around game for Michael Conforto is going to see him blossom back into an all-star caliber player. As we get into number 6 on my list, it is that of Mitch Haniger. I think that when you look at Haniger, this is a player who absolutely has a lot of injury concerns. But when healthy, this is going to be one of the more underrated potential superstars in the game. I think that going into the 2022 campaign, a healthy Mitch Haniger can truly prove just how talented he is and just how versatile he is in terms of his outfield capabilities. I think that if you really needed to, you could absolutely put him in center field, which only adds to his value. I also think that this is a guy who can not just provide you power at the plate, but also give you some dynamics on the base pass. Not to mention being, like I said, a solid defender. I think going into the 2022 campaign, if Mitch Haniger can prove that he's healthy, this will be a very big breakout season for Haniger. Now, as we get into number 5, I think that we take a big step up here in terms of the separation between the bottom half and the top half of this list. Nicholas Castellanos is number 5 on my list. Now, Castellanos could very easily fall into potentially a DH category, but I think that he sticks in right field. Going into this new season in 2022, Castellanos is going to have a lot to prove in terms of being able to be one of the most consistent and reliable right-handed bats in any lineup across the board. I also think that going into this season, he's going to be playing with a chip on his shoulder to try and prove just how talented and just how good he is. I think this is a player capable of hitting 30, 35, even 40 home runs in a season, driving in over 100 runs to be able to sustain and push forward his team towards a postseason hunt. I also think that as a right fielder, he is just a bit under league average in terms of his defensive abilities, but I think that because of his bat, he's going to provide you more offense than you lose with him on defense. Now, as we get into number 4, we take another step up, in my opinion, and get to the upper echelon, the elite superstars in this right field market, and we begin with Mookie Betts. I think that for Mookie, this 2022 campaign is really going to see him get back to that elite number 2 status in all of Major League Baseball. So as we look at what he's capable of doing all across the diamond, this is one of the most best and well-rounded players that we have seen in Major League Baseball. Capable of running, hitting for power, hitting for average, and playing great defense. This is also a guy who has extreme versatility compared to some of the others on this list, being able to play all 3 outfield spots, and if you really needed to, second base or even shortstop. That's how talented and skillful this player is. I also think that going into this 2022 campaign, Mookie is going to be able to relax a bit more into his next season with the Dodgers and being able to really solidify himself as one of the best players in Major League Baseball. As we get to number 3 on my list, the reigning defending National League MVP, Bryce Harper. I think that Harper is going to go into this season with a very big chip on his shoulder. He's going to look to carry the Philadelphia Phillies not just to the postseason, but all the way to the World Series. I think that this player is arguably going to be one of the very, very best in Major League Baseball history when all is said and done. Quietly, after all of the hype that he began his career with, Bryce is putting together a very solid Hall of Fame resume. I think that as he continues to mature and continues to take this Philadelphia Phillies team to the next types of levels, this is going to be a player that absolutely gets the respect that I think he deserves. Going into this 2022 campaign, I think that there's another possibility for another MVP in Bryce Harper's mantle. As we get to the number 2 player on my list, it is that of the New York Yankees, my New York Yankees, Aaron Judge. Obviously, Aaron Judge is going to go down as one of the best big men in all of baseball history. That being said, I think that injuries are something that we have to pay attention to. However, the moniker of being injury prone, I don't think properly applies here. Aaron Judge has dealt with some freak injuries over the past few seasons during his career, but I think that when healthy, and as we saw in 2021, this is a very productive player. I also think that being as large as he is of an athlete, he sometimes gets overlooked for being as great a defender as he is at the position. I think that with his accurate throwing arm, the absolute rocket of a cannon that he has for a right arm, as well as what he's able to contribute at the plate that is leaps and bounds above many others in terms of the power game, this is an absolute superstar stud of a player going into the 2022 campaign. If Judge remains healthy all season and plays 145, 150 games, if we get that many, this is going to be a player that absolutely has the potential to have a 50 home run campaign. This is the type of player that I believe could actually break the single season record for home runs in a season, currently held by Barry Bonds at 73. This is that type of player, and I think Aaron Judge clearly has a leg up on most others when it comes to the power game. Therefore, he is my number 2. Now, as we get into the number 1 player, the number 1 right fielder in the game, I think it's very obvious at this point, Juan Soto is the number 1 right fielder in the game. Now, yes, could be a bit of controversy with this pick simply because some of the other players that we just mentioned in Judge, Harper, and Mookie Betts are much better defenders than Juan Soto. But I think when you look at the offensive game for Juan Soto, the level of intelligence at the plate, his understanding of his strike zone is the second coming of Ted Williams. I think that this in and of itself truly allows Juan Soto to be the best right fielder in the game. His hitting ability to me is on another level compared to everyone else in the game. I also think that for Soto, his defense is going to get better as he continues to play the position. I think moving from left to right field is also going to help him in that Nationals ballpark, but I think that his biggest calling card is obviously going to be his eye at the plate and his approach at the plate. To me, again, the second coming of Ted Williams is what we're witnessing with this player. But I want to hear from you guys. Let me know your feelings on this down in the comment section below. Who are the top 10 right fielders right now in the game? You can let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments, or you can follow me on Twitter and we can continue the discussion there. Follow me at JLaracuente19. As always, keep it locked into the Baseball Banter Broadcast, our sister channels WeSibs and the Granite Geek Show, the entire GLMG family. And for sticking around all the way to the end, I want to offer you guys a promo code on the Baseball Banter Broadcast merchandise shop. Use the promo code BANTER to save 5% off your order. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Keep it locked in all season long as we continue to cover the latest news, notes, and my personal thoughts, theories, and opinions on the game of Major League Baseball. Peace.